Hi everybody, in this video I'll try to answer who are the 5 most over and underweight players in the NBA. Zion Williamson, for example, has been roasted quite a bit on national media for his weight, but is that really justified from a more data-driven perspective? How can we answer that question? I think the most obvious thing to consider is the height, because if you're a bit taller, you are on average also a bit heavier. Here, for example, I've collected data for about 500 NBA players from the 2023-2024 season and plotted the height on the horizontal axis and the weight on the vertical axis. And as we see, moving from left to right on the chart, so from smaller to taller players, the weight tends to increase. The relationship is obviously not perfect, but I think looking at the chart, it's pretty clear that there's a rather strong positive relationship between the two, which is also indicated by the correlation coefficient of 0.7. The straight red line that goes through the chart indicates the best fit between height and weight. So you can kind of think of it as the expected weight for a player of a given size. For example, a player who is 6 feet tall would be estimated to weigh around 180 pounds, and a player who is 7 feet tall would be estimated to weigh around 240 pounds. In other words, every inch in height adds around 5 pounds in weight. What this allows us to do is to compute the difference between the expected weight that is indicated by the straight red line and the actual weight of a given player. So here I've highlighted two outliers, one positive outlier where a player weighs much more than we would expect for a player of his height, and a negative outlier where a player weighs much less than we would expect for a player with a height of more than 7 feet. So this will then be kind of our proxies for determining whether a player is over or underweight. The only thing that I will add is to also factor in the position of a player. Because if you're, for example, 6'6 and play at power forward, you're probably expected to be a bit heavier than if you're 6'6 and play shooting guard. But the approach stays the same. So we'll basically use these two variables, the height and the position of a player, to compute a expected weight and then look at the difference between the actual weight and the expected weight to see to what extent a given player is over or underweight. But let us now jump into the results for the top 5 underweight players. At number 5, we have Evan Mobley from the Cleveland Cavaliers, who is 6'11 and weighs just 215 pounds. This is 35 pounds below the predicted weight for a center of 250 pounds. At number 4, we have Zaire Williams from the Memphis Grizzlies, who is 39 pounds underweight. At number 3, we have Jaden McDaniels, who has the same height of 6'9 and weighs just 185 pounds and is therefore also 39 pounds underweight according to our statistical model. At number 2, we have the rookie sensation from the Spurs, Victor Wembanyama, who's produced a lot of highlights this season already, but still at 7'4 and just 210 pounds, he's 48 pounds underweight relative to his predicted weight of 258 pounds. But at number 1, we have none other than the other rookie, Chet Holmgren, who's 7'1, plays forward center and weighs just 195 pounds. This is 52 pounds below his predicted weight. One thing to keep in mind when interpreting these results is that the predicted weight that I've listed here is not necessarily the same as the ideal weight for a player, because different players have different playing styles and different body types, so their ideal weight might be different. But still, if there's a large deviation between the predicted weight that we would expect for a player of a given height and a given position, this would still be a sign that he's under or overweight. With that in mind, let's move to the top 5 overweight players. At number 5, we have none other than Nikola Jokic, the two-time NBA MVP and last season's Finals MVP, who's 6'11 and weighs 284 pounds, which is 34 pounds more than the predicted weight of 250 pounds. I think this kind of corroborates what I've just said. The predicted weight does not necessarily mean that it's not ideal for a given player. At number 4, we have Talen Horton-Tucker from the Utah Jazz, who's 36 pounds overweight. At number 3, we have another center, Yusuf Nurkic from the Phoenix Suns, who's 39 pounds overweight at 290 pounds and a height of 7 feet. At number 2, we have David Roddy, who's just recently been traded to the Suns, who's also 39 pounds overweight. And now at number 1, you may have guessed it, it's Zion Williamson, who's 6'6", weighs 284 pounds, which is 65 pounds above the predicted weight of 219 pounds. Now, we can't speculate whether there is any chance that Zion Williamson will give up his title as the most overweight player in the NBA next season. Personally, I think it's rather unlikely because I think he already played at around 285 pounds in his college freshman season at Duke, so I don't see him being below 265 pounds in any of the next 2 or 3 seasons. But let's see. In any case, I think we can still give him credit for being such a dynamic and explosive player despite his weight.